好，各位观众，今天是11月19号下午2点58分，比预计的3点钟我们早开了2分钟，一个呢是视频信号有了，第二个呢，因为刚才我是看了美国白宫，他们叫这个新冠疫情工作小组 Task Force 这个新闻简报，也是1个多小时。那么美国人的说法和 Bonnie Henry 几乎是一辙，也就如出一辙，也就是说，经过很多的数据，以及这10个月以来对病毒的了解，支持他们联邦的 CDC 不再做出关闭学校的建议我请注意联邦的 CDC 只有这个建议权，没有做出命令权的，因为就像我们加拿大一样，各个省的抗议主要是各个省来做，不是联邦来做。那么，所以他们这个联邦 CDC 只是做出建议，没有 recommendation 再去 closing school closure 已经没有了，不再做了，因为他们说很多的数据已经表明了这个关闭学校作用不大。同时，他们也讲了几点，第一点，疫苗只要美国食品和药品这个什么所叫 FDA 联邦这个食品药监局同意批准这个疫苗的紧急使用的话，美国联邦飞马团队协同军队在24小时之内可以到全国部署300万剂这个 dose， 一天24小时之内立刻部署。第一的重点对象主要是老年人以及这个 vulnerable， 因为这个我们 BC 省我接下来做简报都会听到 vulnerable， 就是易受攻击的人群，这个就是老弱病残这个老弱人群体。那么第二呢，就是给 first responder 就是这些急救人员医护工作人员等等，都是叫 first responder。那么这是他们给出的第一个信息。第二个信息呢，和 Bonnie Henry 都是一样，就是说勤洗手，保持警惕的心 keep vigilant 这个要保持警惕洗手，戴口罩，他们强调了戴口罩。第三就是注意距离。第四就是 be wise 要聪明，你要智慧。有这个聚会 crowded 的时候你要智慧，就是你判断。那么同时他们也说了，美国这么一大波疫情主要还是家庭聚会造成的。我一听怎么这么熟悉，跟我们 Bonnie Henry 说的都差不多。那么今天早上呢，有网友说早上那个 News 1130 1130新闻广播电台也是提到，可能在前周六紧急颁布的我们低陆平原，也就是延安卫生局和飞沙卫生局旗下的这个家庭聚会禁令再次延长2星期。那么大家拭目以待，看看 Bonnie Henry 会不会颁布这个命令，或者已经颁布了，不知道因为今天只是新闻简报，他不会在这个新闻简报会上颁布什么命令那么要颁布，也就是通过这个省长说话，或者是他们的 BCCDC 以及正常的给媒体的渠道，他们会颁布这个命令，这个也是供大家参考。那么刚才说到了这个学校关闭的情况，那么同时呢，我今天也看到了一个很小众的微信自媒体，提到了就是最近微信里边昨天开始的提到省长的最新命令要封城。那么这个小众的自媒体呢，我觉得很好，他说请慎用这个封闭2个字。所谓封闭，这个 lockdown 我们这个根本连这个封的一点点这个意义都没有，就是说不要轻易使用这个封城封省这个整个省去封掉，没有这个意思这个所以自媒体不要再去这么曲解。什么叫封城？看看1月份2月份武汉 以及全国各地的这种做法。你像这个上海啊、北京啊，全国各地除了武汉以外，都是1个月好像不止2个星期就待在家里。这个每个小区只能出去1个人，这个才叫封，这个才叫 lockdown。所以我觉得我也在这儿，这个YouTube 频道也是给大家有一个呼吁一下，就是现在这种中文的微信自媒体有一种现象，就是语不惊人死不休，这种题目标题党取得越惊人，他越想播点击，但是时间长了，就是把整个微信读者的对这个自媒体的可信度以及专业度大打折扣。所以能够严谨还是要保持严谨。我在这儿也呼吁我们所有的 BC 省的这个工作人员这个同行吧，能够尊重一些职业操守，不要为了一些所谓的流量点击率去做出这些这个惊人的这个标题。我也举个例子，有些微信自媒体，我们温哥华的，你可以打开他的公号，你可以看到8篇文章，至少有6篇每天不是这个国家的这个天然灾害，就是那个国家的碎尸万段不是这个国家的这个火灾，就是那个国家的地震。每天呢弄一些耸人听闻，就像一路边小报流量是大了，永远是这样。你看着低级的下流的消息，小道消息，哪怕偏黄色的，哪怕八卦的，流量永远是大的。但是这个不等于你能够把你自己的品牌做出来，你永远不入流。所以这个也是我发表一些感慨题外话，大家仁者见仁，智者见智各位观众和网友都可以在评论区里边对这个看法这个那么最近提到了，也就是美国的大选川普的支持者始终觉得美国的主流媒体没有在这个民主党的丑闻上做出足够的报道，没有，因为都主流的媒体我再说一下，都是左倾的，这个历来如此，从来没有喜欢过川普共和党一类的，因为共和党呢比较偏右偏保守，而大学媒体都是自由主义者，是以左为主，所以特别是那些 big tech 川普说 big tech 就大科技公司，谷歌啦、Facebook、Twitter 他们都是和传统的保守的价值观有点点冲突的。所以最近几年来大家可以看到的舆论有一个川粉吧，川普的粉丝说，川粉说到这个媒体的时候就说，川普做任何好事，西方的媒体美国的媒体不怎么报道川普稍微说了一些我们叫豁边的话，也就是说上海话叫豁边，也就是说这个稍微有点出格的话了他们就是作为新闻来报道。那么长期以往呢，民众就觉得我们选的这个总统怎么这么垃圾这么蹩脚但川普做了那么多的事情，对美国人民做了那么多的事，企业减税这个海外撤军，减少了那么多人的无辜的美军士兵的生命，减少了那么多的损失，少花了那么多钱还有中东的和平进程，以色列和这个阿联酋吧，马上据说也要沙特了，都是美国政府在从中的斡旋相比奥巴马的8年这种碌碌无为，这个典型的傻白甜，我们说的傻白甜对不起我有点右倾的倾向，也就是说这种高举着民主自由的这种旗号这个做一些妥协做一些这种我们说农夫和蛇的农夫的事情，这种现象就是这个奥巴马这个比较典型的这个8年碌碌无为在海外这个比起来美国总统在和世界和平进程方面做出了卓越的贡献，但美国的媒体不怎么报中文的媒体更加就是了不愿意报。所以这个就是媒体的力量，我们一直在说某个国家在被洗脑。说实话，现在在 自由发生的这个社会里边，也容易洗脑。有时候呢是自己主动愿意去被洗，有些呢是被动的愿意洗有一位网友说已经取消了所有的关注的公众号，这个也腾出空间这个呢微信呢，说实话，微信这个 app 呢，的确也是有一个缺点大家都觉得微信使用很方便，因为现在不是说这个电报群很多人不习惯，为什么？因为微信它是一个小的一个操作系统，但它不是手机操作系统，但是它是一个包罗万象的一个应用，我们中文叫 APP， 就是英文叫 app， 它是一个包罗万象的 app， 包罗什么呢？浏览器，包罗了图片，包罗了这个音乐包罗了这个多媒体的播放等等。所以呢，你参加的群越多，你聊天的内容越多，你的手机就会越占空间。那原来手机比较小一个手机64G， 没多久半年，微信你聊天下来，你就算不聊天，它都是下载到手机上的，都是自动的，所以你的微信会越来越大，越走越慢音乐没有了，看来好了，我废话说到这儿也是两位，一个是我们的卫生厅厅长 Andrew Dix 和首席医官。
Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Dix. I'm BC's Minister of Health.
一开始就是自我介绍。
To my right is Dr. Bonnie Henry, BC's Provincial Health Officer. This is our COVID-19 briefing for British Columbia for Thursday, November 19th, 2020. I want to say how we are honored to be on the territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people of the Sanghees and the Esquimalt First Nations. Tomorrow, Friday, around 3 o'clock, we'll be providing a written briefing with relevant information about COVID cases in British Columbia. On Monday, we'll be back here in Victoria at at 3 o'clock. And with that, it's my honor to introduce.
好，现在很荣幸邀请 Bonnie Henry。我估计数字不会好。
Thank you very much and good afternoon. So for today, I want to report a total of 538 new cases of COVID-19 in British Columbia, including 9 epidemiologically linked cases, bringing our total to 24,960 people in British Columbia with COVID-19.
Okay.
The new cases by Health Authority, 178 are in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region, 309 people are in the Fraser Health Region, 12 people reside in the Vancouver Island Health Region, 28 people in the Interior Health Region, and 11 people are from the Northern Health Region. We now have 6,929 active cases of COVID-19 in the province in all of our health authorities, of whom 217 are in hospital, 59 of whom are in critical care or ICU. We have had, sadly, one additional death in the last 24 hours, bringing the number of people in British Columbia who've died from COVID-19 to 321. As always, we send our deep condolences to the
538例新增538例，稍微有一点点下降还是长期护理院的长者死亡。
We now have 9,929 people under active public health monitoring across the province,
9000多个人在自我隔离。
207 people who have recovered
好的，
from COVID-19.
这个是稍微下来一点，我会给大家总结。
6 new healthcare outbreaks
又有新的6个
and no new ones that have been declared over.
没有新的增加有6个增加，但是没有新的宣布结束都是现在有41个长期护理院，包括这个协助治疗的。
We also have an additional outbreak in a community to report.
有一个社区爆发
BC LNG joint venture,
BC LNG 这个联合企业这个是一个 LNG 我们知道就是一个厂 LNG 就是液化气厂它那边的工人测试成阳性在北部，怪不得今天北部是11例这个给大家说一下。
So today, as is no surprise to anybody,
他说
we are
对大家
in our
一点都
second
不惊
surge,
奇。
and it is
我们
proving
现在已
to
经是
be
在
a
第二波
challenge.
高点
While we
我们
all
面临很多的
hoped
困
that we
难。
would not experience a second wave, based on what has been happening around the world,
这个大家
around this
环球
country,
看看
and
世
around
界
our
都是
province,
这样，
we
我们神外面
anticipated
都
that
是这
this
样
may occur.
我
We
们
knew that
我们
every
也希望
pandemic
这个
that
是
we've
逃不
ever
掉的。
had has had more than one wave.
我们
And
之前已
this
经
has
说
been
过可能
proving
不会有
to
一个疫
us
情，
and to people around the
那么现在
globe
正好是第二
that
波，
this is a challenging virus
所以
to
这
deal with.
个疫苗这个
Despite
病毒
where
对
we
大家
may
讲
be
太有
today,
挑战
I
了
remain confident.
但是
And I
直到
know
现在
we will
我
get
还
through this.
保持自信
But we
心
need，to
我们
take
会
more
战胜
action
病毒
now.
我们现在就要采取行动了。
COVID-19 is a virus that is proving to be a long road, this
那么
pandemic.
这个新冠病毒
And this is the
证
road
明了
that
是
we
一
must
个
travel.
长期
It will
的
have
全球
bumps
流行病，
and
需
will
要
have
我们
challenges, and we are facing
面
them
临很多
today.
的困难挑战
As we
我
know,
们
we
必
have
须
seen a
面对，逃不掉
significant。rise in new
我们已经
cases,
看到了最近的
hospitalizations,
巨大的
and
上升幅度
tragically deaths.
包括了很多的
4
死
weeks
亡
ago,
以
we
及
had
很
about
多人的住院。
175 cases a day, and I
4
was
个礼拜
anxious
记
then.
得大家记得吗？
Yesterday,
每
we
天
had
才
over
200-300个。
700 people
那么
in our
昨天
province
是
affected.
700多
And
个
we know
新
that
增
our
案例
hospitals are
大
getting
家都很
stretched.
焦虑
Our ICU
你看到我们的
capacity
所
is
有的
getting stretched.
医院以
Our
及
communities
重
are
症监
suffering.
护都
We
满负
also
荷
know that as
那么
more
大家
people
各
are
个社区
infected,
都
the risk of
面
somebody
临的挑
younger
战。
and others
那么现在看来呢
becoming, having
又是
severe
往年纪
illness or
轻的
dying
方
are
向走
greater.
了。
And
这个趋
tragically,
势
this past week we had
那么
a
在过去
young
几个礼拜
person
很
in
悲
his
伤，我
30s
们有
who
很
died
多
from
人死亡，
COVID-19.
一下子
This
死亡
is
率
a
很高。
reminder to all of us that
其中
this
包括一个
virus
年
can
轻
have
人，
tragic effects
所以
on
这
the
个
people
始
we are
终提
closest
醒
to
大
and
家
the people we
这
love.
个病毒是危险的。
We also have over 50 active outbreaks in our healthcare
所以
system.
那么
We
现在
have
我们
seen that
在这个
transmission
全省的
has
公卫系统里
happened
边有
sometimes in
50
social
个
events
爆
in
发的
our
情况，这个
communities,
表
and
明
it's
了
spilled
我
over
们这个
into
病
our
毒在
long-term
我们
care
社区
homes
里边
and
还
our
在传
hospitals.
播。希望大
This
家在搞
increase
社
has
交
been
活动
most
的时候
acute, as
一
we
定
know,
要
in the
小
Vancouver
心
coastal and Fraser
特别
health
是家
regions of
庭
the
这
province.
个
And that
学
is
校
why I put in
医
regional
院
orders about
特
10
别
days
是
ago.
飞沙和沿
However,
岸卫生局。
as we've been watching so carefully over the last few weeks,
那么
it
他
has
说我们
become
过去
apparent
几个礼拜
that this surge in
已经很
transmission
清
is
楚看
happening
到了。
across the
那
province.
么整个省
We
没有
are
一
now
处地
seeing
方不传播病例。
increased activity in terms of
所以
community transmission, outbreaks, and effects on our healthcare system in every health authority in the province. So now we need to do more.
所以希望
We
大家能
need
够
to
立刻
keep
行
our
动起来，
essential service, our essential activities open and
因为
operating
只有我们
safely.
行动起来，才
We
能使
need
得
to
我们
keep
最
our
基本的
schools
服务
open
能够正
and
常进行
operating。safely.
他说 essential
And our
service 最基
workplaces
本的服务
that can be
希望大
open
家能够
safely.
能够使得
And we
学
need
校
to
安
relieve
全
the，stress
能够使
on
得
our
我们工
healthcare
作场
system
所安
right
全
now.
也使得我们的
Right
公
now,
卫系统
we
能
are
够正
holding our
常
own,
负荷
but
小
we
一点
know that if people
这个是我
cannot
们必
access
须每个
healthcare,
人自
that it is
己
not
所
only
负
people
担的
with
应有的责任
COVID-19, but
我
people
们来
with
面
other
对
urgent
新
health
冠病
issues
毒
that will
我
suffer.
也希望大
And we
家
need to
能
do
够
this
面
across the province.
正视这个
As a result,
紧急
I am
疫
extending
情
the
我也知道
regional
大家
orders
都能
that
够承
currently
担了
apply
很
to
大
the
的
Fraser and
痛
Vancouver
苦
health region across the entire province. And I'm putting new province-wide orders in
那么他
place.
说我也现在颁布了一些新
These
的命令
expanded
从我
orders
们
will
的
come
低入
into
平原的
effect today
家庭聚会
and
禁
run
令
until
扩大到这个岛上和
for
内陆
starting with a 2-week period.
那么因
That's
为我们每
the
次
period of the
每个措施
incubation
都是
period.
2个礼拜
And
的
we
一
will
个
be
周期
extending the orders from November 23rd so that the orders across the province will be in place until December 7th at
那
midnight.
么现在这个
We
命
want
令
to
呢要
ensure
到
we get
12月
through
份了，因为
1
从
to 2 incubation
1月
periods.
23号开
And
始
we will
算，
be
他说
reviewing
那么
our
2个礼拜要
progress
到12月份
regularly
才
as we
能
move
这
through
一个
this
周
next
期
2 weeks.
所以希望大
We
家
want to
在
see
这
a
些现
clear
在的
and
礼拜里
notable
边
difference
困难一
and
点
slowing of
但是
transmission
这个
in our
信息
province
很清
across
楚
the，
希望大
province
家
so
很
that we
清楚
can get
我
back
们要
into that
减缓
balance, that
病
control
毒
that
的
we
传
had
播，
with
在
public
全省
health.
里边，我们希望回到正常的
So
平
what
衡
does
状
this
态
mean?
可控的
This
状态
means that the
这个
orders
就是
with
意味
regards
着
to our
我
social
们的命令
gatherings apply
希
to the
望我
entire
们的
province.
所有的社交
Right
活动
now,
能够暂停。
we at home need to only socialize
那
with
么
our
我们
immediate
只有
households.
和
We
自己的
need
直
to
系亲
delay
属
inviting
做
over
社交
friends
活动
and family
我
for
们
this
不
period
能
of
够
time
再邀请
and
其他人
reduce our
亲
social
朋好友
interactions
到我
as
们
much
家里
as
边来了
possible outside of our
不许
homes.
再有社交
As a
的
result, I'm ordering that there
社
will
会
be
的
no
交
social
往
gatherings of any size with anyone
我
other
不
than
希
your
望
immediate
看到有
household.
更多有
This
什么
applies
任
in
何
our
的
homes,
不
vacation
管人
rentals,
员
and in
多
the
少
community,
没有这个
and
人
in
员聚
public
集、家庭
venues,
聚集了。
including those with less than 50 people
尤
in
其是
controlled
这些
settings.
短期租赁
Your
屋
immediate
等
household
等
can, of course,
包括了
include
这个
roommates,
公共场
and
所
if you live on
以
your
及
own,
这
you
个
can visit
大家
with
的
up
度
to
假屋
1 or
不
2
允许再
people
有这个
if you
家庭聚
regularly
会。
spend time with them. We need to go back to what we were
我们
doing
需要往
in
回大家
April,
走一走
in
了，
May,
往回
in
走了
March, when
不
we
要
had
再
our
就是到
pandemic
往5
bubble.
月份、6
And
月份
so
那个
if you
措施
are
往走了。
somebody who lives alone, that's that 1 or 2 people that you have a close relationship with. All indoor and outdoor events
所有
as
的
defined in my gathering and events order are not allowed to take place until
好
further notice.
他的现在的
So
新的
that
命令是
goes back
不
and
管
that's
是
a
室
bit
内
of a
还是室
technical
外没
language.
有了
Our,
没有了没
the
有聚
mass
会了
gathering and events
不
order
就是说
is
我
on
室
the
室外
website
可以了
and
没
it
有了
refers to
这个是往回走了
the
很明
restrictions
确
and limits.
这
The maximum
个
number
我
of
记
people
得
we could have in an event was
是
50,
复
and these
工
events
第二
could
期
take place in many
就是
different
这个
places.
他也说
Those
到了
are now
我们现在要回
suspended
到5月
across
份、
the
6月份
province
但是不是真正的5
for
月
the
份、6月
next
份为什么
2
大家
weeks.
看到了 Costco 排队吗
While
不怎
places
么
of
排对
worship
不对
are to
还有
have
看到了
no
这个
in-person
很
groups
多的商
have
店
services
不用
for
了为什
this
么措施到位
period
了
of time.
现在主要是针对的是家庭
And I've
细致的
had
聚
the
会
privilege of meeting with a
所以
number
他也
of
是说
our
到了这个
a
还
large
是强
number
调
of
了家
faith
庭聚
leaders
会
from around the province, and this is important, and they understand that we need our
希望大
faith
家能够理
services
解
more than
我们
ever
现在
right
的
now,
这个
but we need to do
面临
them
的
in a
困
way
难
that's safe, and with the
我们希
community
望能够
transmission that we're
社区
seeing,
安全
and the
能够
fact that we
保
have
证
seen
这个长期
transmission
护理的安
in
全
some of our faith-based settings, we need to suspend those and
所
support
以他
each
说我
other
们希
and
望大
find
家能
those
够暂
ways
停
to
所有的
care
这些
for
活
each
动
other
相互
remotely.
支持相互帮助
The exceptions will be those important events, funerals and weddings, and ceremonies such as baptisms, which may proceed in a limited way with a
那么
maximum
也是说
of
到
10
了这
people,
个受
including
洗
the
仪
officiant.
式
There
婚
are
礼
to
和
be
葬
no
礼
associated
都是小规
receptions
模
inside
不是说
or
不允
outside
许
your home
不
or
管
any
是在
public
室
or
内还是室外
community-based venue
都是会
associated
到
with these
小规
important
模不允许再人
celebrations.
多了不允许了不允许了
The exceptions do include other activities that happen with COVID safety plans in some in these gathering sites, including medical group sessions, sessions like NA and AA meetings
那么包
with
括
a
了
maximum of
来自于这
50
些
people,
像洋医
less
的
if
这
the
一类
space
的
is
展
smaller,
览啊
and
博览
ensuring that you
展示
have
都不会有
COVID-19
我说的
safety
展览
plans
博
that
览
are
就
in
是说
place
这
and
个
are being acted
医
upon.
疗方面的
It
这
also
种这
does
种
not
聚会也
apply
不允许
to
现
those
在
very important work functions that we have.
我们
What
所
we
以
are
我所
talking
做的
about
就是使
is
得
reducing our social
暂时的
activities
停止这些
both in
活
our
动
home
使得我
and
们的
outside our
家
home
庭
and around
家
our
庭内
work
外都
periods.
能够
So if
在
I
这个
work
期
in the
间能
social
够停
services
下
and
来
I need
使
to
得
check
大
on
家能
families,
够
this
安
does
全
not apply
希望
to
大家
that situation.
告诉大家现在不是一
As
个
well,
好的
if
时
we
候考
have
虑各
people
种
who
活
are
动
doing work in our house, people who are our grandparents are coming to pick up children, those are not social gatherings.
那么
Those
包
are
括接孩
essential
子之类
functions
的
that happen
不算
in and out
社
of our
交
home.
聚会
And
比
so
如说你
those
去
are
接孩
not
子
affected
他说
by
这
this
个是
order.
基本的是 essential 的
I have for
工作
many, many
这个不
weeks
算了
made
比如说你
clear
说
the
我去接孩
importance
子
of
这
wearing
个不
masks,
算那
particularly
个
now,
去家
as
庭
one
聚
of the
会
measures that
这个
we
都考虑
have
清
that
楚
can
了
prevent transmission, along with those important things that we know work, like
有
physical
一位
distancing,
咪咪说
cleaning our hands,
老吾
and
老
staying
以
away
及
from
人
others
之老
when we're not
有道
feeling
理有
well.
家说到老人
But based
该
on
回家应
continued
该回家
requests,
生活是
particularly
是
from the
我
retail
相信
and other
大
public
多数
sectors,
的老
to
外还
have more
是
explicit
这个
direction
比较遵
for the
守
use of
少
masks
部分
in
主要
indoor,
是少部分
public, and retail spaces. I've asked the Minister of Public Safety and the Solicitor
那么他
General
也是说
to
到了
issue
这
a
个零售店
requirement
以及
for the
其他的
wearing
公
of
共地
masks
方
for all
要
indoor
求
public
各
and
个地
retail
方在
spaces
设
for
定卫生
staff
措施的时
and
候
customers,
要求所有的
except
入
where
场的人
eating
都要
and
戴
drinking.
口罩那就
This
是说了
means if
上
you
次
are at
说过了
work at
我
your
们
desk,
省
you do
没
not
有
need to
颁
wear a
布
mask.
强制戴口罩的命令
But if
但
you
是
are in
他
a
上次
shared
解释过了
workspace, a
各个
common
零售
space
店
or
各个
public
公共
space
场
like
所在
elevators,
设定卫
hallways,
生条例的时候，在宣布卫生措施的时候，在被他们公务系统批复的时候，都要有一条戴口罩的这个命令所以
you do not need to wear a mask unless there are others back there with you. If you are serving customers, you do need to wear a
那么他
mask.
也是说到了，
If
你
you are
不
in a
管是什
restaurant,
么行
you
业
need to
如
wear a
果你
mask
是
when you are
服
not
务
at your
顾客
table.
的，你必
That
须戴口
includes
罩。
coming into the
所以
restaurant,
现在
leaving
开
the
始了清楚
restaurant, going to the
那么
washroom.
包括
And staff
这
must
个
wear
离
masks
开
when they're interacting
去餐厅
with others
离
and
开
with,
餐厅
with other staff
包括
and
这
with
个
the
去
tables.
卫生间都要戴口罩。
Again, this does not apply to anyone who is unable to put on or remove the mask on their own. We know that there are people with certain conditions and disabilities in some ways that would make mask wearing challenging. It does
那么
not
他也
apply
是
to
说到
children under
这
the age of
个
2.
戴口罩可能对很多人来讲
We
是
need
困
to
难的，
be
有
aware that
挑
some
战的，
people's
特别是那些小
disabilities
孩
or
子
inability
那
to
么
wear a mask may not be readily apparent to people. This will mean, technically, this will mean mandatory wearing of masks in all indoor public and retail
那么
spaces,
他也是说到
not
了，
only as a
等于是
workplace
现
health
在
and
所
safety
有
issue, as
不单
one
单
of
是
the
在工
mandates
作
that we
场
have
所，
had,
现在
but
是
also
零售
to
店
ensure that,
室内的全部
owners
戴
and
口罩，
operators
等
of
于
these
是强制
spaces
戴口
have,
罩了啊！
the
因为礼拜一
the
有记者访问
support
他，你为
behind
什么
them
不
to
宣布
ensure that
整个省
customers are
的
aware
强制戴
of
口
this
罩？他
mandate
做了一
as well.
些解释。
The
那么
use
今
of the
天呢，他是
Emergency
其
Act
实
to
是
do
修
this
改了自己
will
的命令
enable
了
us to
啊！他
cover
是
that
说到了
overlap
所有的零售
of
商店
workplace and，
不
public
管你是
safety
上班还不
around
上
this
班
issue.
啊，你原来上班的地方都要戴口罩，现在
As
连售
I
店必
announced
须戴
last
口罩了
week,
这是
we
强制
need
了。
to understand and better manage and control indoor group physical activities
所以
where
这
we
个呢，
have
还
seen
要请
transmission
大家一
happen.
定要注
We've
意，
seen
就
notable
是在
levels
室
of
内的时候也要
transmission,
保
and there are
持
some
安
particular
全距离。
activities that are higher risk.
因为
I
现
have
在看来，
tasked
室
a
内
group
的
to look
传
at
播
this issue over the
远
past
远
10
远远风
days.
险大于
And as
任何
of
其他的地
today,
方
I am ordering
啊，
that
所以今
all
天他
businesses,
又是
recreation
发布命
centers,
令
or
了。
other organizations
任
that
何一个
organize
组
or
织，任
operate
何一个
indoor
这
group
个
physical
所有的
activities
室内的
that
活
include
动，
spin
所有的
classes,
组
hot
啊
yoga,，
包
and
括
high
了什么
intensity
课
interval
程啊
training
等等
must
训
stop
练啊
until further notice.
啊，必须停止了
All
啊！
other
你们这
group
种什么跳舞
fitness
啦，这
activities
个
indoors
啊，都瑜伽啦都没有
can
了，
continue to operate, but
直
they
到
must
我有新的命令为止啊！
adhere
现在
to
暂
the
时停
updated guidance
啊！
that
希
we
望大
are
家都
developing.
严
So
格
what,
遵守
this
我
is a
们的卫
change
生
from
命
what we put in
啊，
place
严格
last
遵
week
守我
for
们的
the
卫生
lower
措施。
mainland. It gave us an
那么
opportunity
本来
to,
呢
once
是
we recognized
我们
that
低
there
入
was
平原的命
transmission
令，现在
happening,
是全
transmission
省的这个
happening
命
in some
令，
of
所以
these
对我们
settings.
低入
We
平原来
took the
讲，只是这
opportunity
个命令的
to
延长
stop。those,
那么
to put a
对
pause, so we could
低入平原
understand
以
the
外的人来讲，
conditions
这是
that
新的
made
命令
these more
啊，这
risky
个没有什
in
么
some
很多
situations
的，
and
希望
others.
大家理
So
解。
what
他
we
说
have
这个室内
determined
的
that
所
it
有
is
的
a
活动
combination.
是太风
This
险
is
大了。
nothing. This is what we're learning over
啊，
time.
因为他说
It's
这个
those
是我们一直
closed
在学，
environments
不
where we
停
have
的
people
取得的
close
教训。
together, where we're
那么只要
exerting,
在室内的话
and
啊，
when we
长
have
时间待在
poor
一起，紧密
ventilation,
在一
and when
起
there's
啊，
often
那么
loud music,
包
those
括
are the
了
settings
这个
that are
通风
most
不
at
好
risk. And we
那
are
么这样的
seeing
话风
around
险
the
会
world
很大
that those
啊，
are
这个是在
are
全球
challenging
都是这样看
settings,
到的
and they
而且
invite
全球都
this
觉得
virus
这个
to spread.
方面最难控制。
And we know that at this time of year,
那么我
when
们也
we
知
know the
道，现
virus
在
is
这个
spreading
时候
faster in
啊，
this
这
in
个
the climate that
病
we
毒
have
传
right
播是
now,
最快的
and
时
the
候。
higher rates in our
所以
community,
现在
that
我们
these
的这
high
个
risk
社区
activities
的传播率
cannot
很高
happen for the foreseeable future.
啊，那么希
So
望
that
我们现
is
在这
the
个
focus
措
that we are
施
looking at
能够
right
在不
now.
远的将来
We
能够看到
had
效果
included other indoor group fitness activities
啊，
like
所以
dance,
这个
like some
做
of
室内
the
的很多的什么跳舞啊，
other
这个瑜
low
伽啊，
intensity,
包括
lower
这
intensity
个
fitness
只要
classes.
是不密集
And
高
we
的
will be
活动
updating the
啊，我
guidance
们都
on
给大家
how
一个
those
更
can
新的
operate safely,
措施
including
的这个
additional
卫
space,
生命令
reduced
啊，
numbers,
我
making
们希
sure
望
that
大家
people
再额
have
外增加空
book
间
ahead, for
啊，
example,
那
and
么同
have
时呢，
the
你要
same
参加的
class
话，
with the
必
same
须就是
people at the
提
same
前
time.
提前
So
提
there's a
前
number
去
of
预
new
约啊，
guidelines
然后
that are
所以
being
我们现在已
finalized
经
and
有
will
新
be
的
posted.
卫生指引
Last
都给 给
week
这
I
些
made the requirement
场所。
that people had to adhere to
那
the
么上个礼拜呢，
updated
我也要
guidance
求希望大家能
and
够
had to
严格
have
的
their
遵守我们的
their
行
new
为
plans
规范。那么今
approved
天
by
呢，
the
又有
local
新的
MHO
出
before
来
they
了。那
could
么我们的
restart
卫生规
these
卫系统呢，也
activities.
会对各
That
个
is no
营业
longer
场
the
所、各
case.
个生
We
意
have
重新
narrowed down
给他们审
those
视
activities
他们
that
的
we
这个
feel
卫
are
生措
too
施，
high
批复
risk
他
to
们。
happen
那么希望
right
大家
now,
能够
and
还是
those
要
will be suspended.
这个严格
All
遵守。
other indoor group activities must, as we've had in the past, must update their COVID
所以
safety
他说，
plans to
所有
adhere
的
to
室
the new
内的
guidelines
团
and
体、
have
群体
those
性的
publicly
活动
posted.
必须要更新你
And
们
they
的
are,
卫生
however,
措施
placed on our
看看
watch
我
list,
们
and we
新
will
颁
be
布的卫
watching
生条
carefully
例。
because we know even some of these lower risk activities if they're not these plans are not followed.
那么他也是说到了，按照现在这个观察下来看到，只要大家没有遵守我们卫生条例的，或者是没有严格遵守做，就会这个增加卫生这个传播的风险。传播就是从这边开始的。
That may have included some of these high-risk activities that had received a notice from Vancouver Coastal Health.That notice will be rescinded if you have any of these high-risk activities.
如果大家还是在这些高风险的行动场所，或者是这个培训啊、训练啊、上课的，如果你们不立即行动的话，我们会吊销你们的这个许可，不能够再去营业了。特别是这些室内的，我们还是要重点强调，这个主要是室内的这个运动体育项目，也是一个导致目前病毒大范围传播的一个重要的场所和因素。希望大家就算你要开的话，也要安全考虑。
Done now is that we will continue with Via Sport Phase 3 activities, with the exceptions. There are to be no spectators at indoor or outdoor sports,
所以现在呢，虽然是第3期的复工的这个卫生命令，但是已经提出了没有在旁边观众席观看，不许大家体育比赛，不会再有观众席了，不允许看了。我们希望这样的重要的措施能够使得体育的重要的体育不能停，同时呢又有安全取得一个平衡的措施。所以那些希望继续开下去的营业场所能够重新审视、重新检视。他说 retooling 就是用这个新的我们提供给他们的工具去包括他说 SPA、瑜伽都是新的卫生命令出来了，你们要重新检视，重新看看，按照我们新的卫生命令去一个一个执行。希望大家能够遵守我们的这个命令，那么这样的话呢，传播就会下降。所以现在，那么包括所有的在办公室里边的人我也要求大家了。那么现在就是要临时增加一个希望能够在家里上班了，就待在家里，那么一直到年底不要再回去了。那么这样的话，目的主要是为了减少我们的社交活动。因为同事之间的社交活动，他说我们已经看到了很多了，整个全省都有，各个社区都会发生同事之间大家中午吃饭，这个传来传去。我们最近看到了，他说食品加工厂包括了一些营业场所他们主要是员工们不在上班的时候在中午吃饭的时候包括了银行包括了卖汽车的他们我们都不没有，因为这个就没有规定他们上班的时候都是按照规定来了，结果下班比如说吃饭的时候又违反了，所以导致了这个社区的传染。
I also want to make so I recognize we talked about this for the Lower Mainland, but across the province.
所以他说我现在不是在对这个低陆平原在说了，所有的全省各个地方的人都要注意，我们要有一个安全的计划，告诉大家我们之前所有的措施是行之有效的，主要是大家没有完全遵守。
And as you know, there's some challenges with the way the liquor licenses are run. Those are settings where we have
这个餐厅的、酒吧的这个酒精执照，我们如果只发现没有完全遵守这个行为规范的，这个营业执照就会被吊销，因为这些地方是最有风险的地方，所以我们一定要确保 在这些环境下能够大家完全遵守我们的行为准则和规范。他说的 adhere 就是严格遵守。那么这个我们已经看到了，在最近几个礼拜，主要是在室内的这个传播，在低陆平原，包括延安卫生局和菲沙卫生局下的。
Vancouver Coastal Health to establish a rapid response team
那么他们这两个卫生局呢，现在也是建立了紧急应对小组，能够对这些突发的或者是要执法的能够看到应急应对这个零星的这个疾病的感染和爆发。那么他也是说到了，现在仅仅是简单的关闭这些营业场所，也不是一个完全足够的措施来阻止这个病毒的传播。所以希望大家一定要严格遵守我们的行为规范，我们的卫生条例。我相信大家做得很好，那么希望大家继续做下去。那么同时呢，也要每天自我检视daily screening 就是每天自我检视每天有些因为小学生上课都有一个表每天自己 check 一下。那么工作人员上班也是我每天戴口罩舒服不舒服等等等等，这个都要自我检视。那么同时呢，现在也是接下来10天前没有颁布这个旅行条例现在没有不允许旅行了。那么昨天省长颁布了，从昨天开始没有旅行的许可这个是除了这个基本的工作以外不允许了，没有了什么你什么健身什么都没有了包括你省内走或者是到其他的地方去了。我再强调一遍，我们往回走，谢谢大家理解。我们希望能够往回走，这样的话能够延缓病毒的传播速度。
I absolutely recognize that tourism is important to our communities, to our economy, and the significant efforts that many of our tourist businesses have put in place for safety plans for themselves and for their guests and staff.
但是这个安全是首要的，我们现在所面对的就是一个急速的快速的新增案例，所以这个旅游暂时就不要再考虑了我觉得这个可以的。
Numbers of people coming here is the Atlantic bubble.
他说很多的一些小的社区就是特别是很脆弱能够容易被这个病毒和外来的访客等等等等受到干扰或侵袭。今天的博医生说的比较多大家可以看出来这个苦口婆心了。资本主义社会、民主社会最多的只能做到这样了，不可能前后两把锁。
If not, then we need to be sure that they will minimize. They need to be aware that the expectation is that they will follow the orders that we have in place here, and these orders are enforceable. So that will be minimizing your social interactions with others, making sure you follow all of the orders and guidelines we have in place here. For students who may be returning home, keep to your household only when you come back. And that it applies to people who are returning to be with their families right now. As previously noted, any travel within the region even is suspended for sports for everyone right now. What does this mean? It means, yes, you can move about within your region. If you live in Penticton, you can go to Summerland. If you live in Victoria, though, and you want to go to Tofino, not such a good idea right now. If you need to go to a store in another community, then plan ahead and go as infrequently as possible for this next short period of time. If you are thinking about skiing, go to a local mountain.
如果大家要滑雪，
And if you are
那么
in
就
doubt,
是到最近的地方去，
postpone
不要到远的
it
地
to
方
a。time when we have
那么能够
better
延缓就
management
延缓，
of
能够
the
推迟就推
transmission that we're
迟，
seeing in our
好不
communities
好？
right
大家
now.
能够使
The
得
focus
传染
about
能够
this
可控的
is
情况
making
下，你
sure
再
that
去
we can
做。
keep our communities
这个
functioning.
滑雪，哎
We
呀，老
can
外
keep our
这个
businesses
当
that
然
are
了，
working
这个也
safely
不是我们的
open.
文
We
化
can
啊，
keep
我们
the
的文化
pressure off
滑
our
雪不是我们
hospitals,
的生
our
活一部分。
ICUs, our long-term care
那么
homes.
他说
We
不要
can
给我们
protect
的
those
社
people
区
who are
养老院
elders
以及
and our
医院有
seniors
更多的
and
压力
people。in need
今
of
天
healthcare.
第一次听到
As
了
well,
在这
it's
个
important
沿
for
岸
us to
和
keep
非沙卫
schools
生局这
We
个
know
重症
that
监护
schools
以
are
及住
an
院
important
已
safe
经
place
面
for
临
children
压力了
around
啊，
this
面临压
province.
力，因为我们每
Many
天
of the
报的
additional
重症
efforts
监护的
announced
数字
today
59
are to
例，
focus
什么
on those
不是这个意
priorities,
思？因为
including
除
our
了新
schools.
冠以外，还有
As I
很多
noted
其
last
他的
week,
什么心
transmission
脏
in
病
schools
啊、这
has
中
been
风
low,
啊，
but
都
we
要
have had
做
many,
这个
many
住院
more
重症
exposure
监护
events
的，所以不
from
单单
the
是这一
adults
方面
and。the
所以他
students
说
in
现
our
在这
school
个
settings.
医疗资源比较
I'm
紧
also
嘛。那
hearing
么现
that
在也是
this
说
is
到了学校的
concerning.
问
This
题
is。concerning to our
那么
parents,
他说我也
to
听到了
teachers,
很多
to
的
all
老
of us in
师
the school
家长来
community.
的焦
And we
虑
need to make
啊，
sure
我
that
们
we
也要确
can
保
keep up with
我
and make
确
sure
保我
everybody
们
is
保
informed as
护每
best
一
as
个
possible.
人在学校里边都能
And
够
we
安
know
全。
that this is most acute in the areas where most of our schools are, and right now where most of the transmission is happening, and that is in the Lower Mainland, in the
谢
Fraser
谢
and
米米，
Vancouver
谢谢
coastal
米
health
米你的
areas.
鼓励啊！我
I
是
have
尽我
directed
最大的努力，
this
因为
week
我也
that
毕
one of
竟
my
不是
deputy
同
provincial
声
health
翻译
officers
出
will
身。
lead a
我把我听
coordinated
到的理
effort
解的，我
to
都
try
及时的
and
告诉大
manage
家。
and improve that situation, with a focus of working with our teams in Vancouver Coastal and Fraser Health to have a coordinated approach to identifying and managing school exposures and outbreaks quickly,
那
and
么
to
他也是说
improve
到了
our
我们
ability to
会及时
communicate
的
and to
把
manage
学
these
校的
events
暴露的
together
情
with
况
our
及
school
时的更
communities.
新，告诉大家。
As part of this, I also remind parents and
那么同时
caregivers
呢，也要
to
提醒
be
大家，特
aware
别
of
是
things
家
like
长们。
mingling and the drop-offs before and after school, and reminding the adults in our school setting that the out-of-classroom interactions are important to manage safely as
那么
well.
同时要保持学校和教室，他说
Getting
这个
through
秩
this
序
surge in，
这
new
个也是
places
请大
and
家，
through
特别是
our
去接
pandemic
孩子们的、
requires
送孩
all
子
of
们的
us
家
to
长
do
以及
our
caregiver
part and to
他
support
们
each
注意
other
不要
to
混
do
乱
this.
啊，能够保持
We
学校
need
的
to
秩序。
urgently
那么
reduce
因
the
为
level
他这
of
个意思就是
transmission
指这个
and
走
our
路啊，
cases
或者是
across
这
the
个
province
不要聚
in
集在
these
教室里边
next
等
2
等啊，
weeks.
这个给孩子们安
We
全。
need to
那么希望
ensure
大家
our
在接下来
healthcare
2礼拜，
system
大家再
can
苦一
meet
苦，
the health
能够使
needs
得我们
of
的
all
公卫
of
系
us
统
here
能够
in BC.
压力小一点，使
I
得能
especially
够
though
正常运
want to
转。
recognize and appeal to young
那么
people.
同时呢，他说
and
我
young
也呼
adults
吁我
to
们
help
的
us
年纪
in
轻
this
的人 人，
effort.
请你们帮帮我
I
们
know how
我也
difficult
知
this
道
has
你们
been
很
for
困
you
难。
and the impact on your
你这
lives.
个
I know that
疫
you've
情
been
对你们
missing
的生活的冲击
birthdays
影
and
响很大。
graduations
我也
and
是给他
celebrations
你
of
们
these
你们的同
important
情，
transitional
你们
moments
没
in our
有生
lives.
日，你们没有各种聚会
I also
这
know
个现
that
在
you
是
have
没有办
been
法过渡
role
时
models
期，也是
and
临时的，
inspirations.
也是请你们原
Young
谅。
people have proven that they have
我们的黄
resilience,
医生有点哽
that
咽
you're
了。
adaptable, and that you're
我们
brave.
可能不理解
And，I'm
我自己一
calling
个
on
侄
all
女
of you，
她今
right
年
now.
又是
I need you.
这个
I
高中
need
毕业
you
进
to
大
be
学
superheroes,
这个人生
to
最重
step
要的
up,
阶段，的
to
确
hold the
没有
line,
这个
and to help
毕
all
业
of
典
us
礼
get through this.
这个是很可惜。
As
同
we
时呢，
approach
又是
the
进入
darkest
新学
days
校
of，this
又没
year,
有入学
there
典礼
is light at
这
the
个
end
的
of
确
that
是
tunnel.
人生当中的一个
We
小遗
know
憾
that there's vaccines
我
on the
们没有经历
horizon,
过，我
and
们
I am
理解不
hopeful
了
that。early
但
in the
是
new
他
year,
作为首席
we'll
医
start
官，
to have
他
some
一
of
定要
those
去理
tools
解
to help
社
us
会各个阶
protect
层
those
的
who are most at risk.
需要。
But right now, we all need to focus our efforts on slowing the
谢
spread
谢 AP
and
这个
bending
网友
our
的支持，也谢谢你祝大家也特别祝你健康快乐。
We need to support our friends, our neighbors, and take care of those who are most at risk. We need to protect our hospitals, our long-term care homes, our seniors, our elders, and our communities. And we will get through this. And we will do it as we have been doing it, by being kind to each other, by being calm, even when it's uncertain and anxious.
他说这个解
And
释一
that
下
is what
calm
will keep us
安心
safe.
要怎么
Thank you.
安心就是不对这些未知的不要有焦虑，也是一种安心。因为说实话，我今天刚才说到开场白的时候 时候说到美国新冠疫情的工作小组
Thank you very much,
他们还
Dr.
请了一个
Henry,
全国的一个心理 心理专家来告诉大家除了这个死亡的美国现在20多万人新冠疫情死亡以外，还有更多的其实也是跟新冠疫情相关的死亡，比如说这个 overdose， 比如说这个心理忧郁症我们这个东亚人韩裔、日裔，我们华裔可能不理解，在家里没有社交，只要有一个手机，有一个网络，可以追剧，可以微信。但是他们洋人的确没有这个社交他们就会很焦虑，很多人会这个乱吃药导致呢这个很多人的死亡。所以今天呢，他们美国的新冠疫情工作小组除了首席医官以及福奇医生，大家都知道对吧？还有就是美国的这个流行病以及感染病什么这个专家以外，还请了一个心理医生来给大家讲。所以他们坚持不关学校。那么今天现在卫生厅长也是在说，刚才说到了这个对死亡的这个层次的哀悼同时也讲了感谢我们的公卫系统工作人员的额外的辛苦和努力。那么数字呢，我是会再给大家汇报一下。过去的24小时新增了538例，昨天他们发的是书面通知，所以是760几例，是新高。今天呢是538例我们稍微 release 了一下，稍微说了一口气。那么记录在案的 active case 呢是6929例，住院人数显著增加217例了。其中呢，这个重症监护没有显著增加，是59例。
We have a significantly greater number of outbreaks in our long-term care homes. These are all reasons for action. So when we summarize those actions, when we say in terms of gatherings only right now with the people in your immediate households, when Dr. Henry orders that outside social gatherings, not the 50-person maximum, but outside social gatherings not occur in this 2-week period.
那么他也是说到了，在接下来的2个礼拜，就算是室外的聚集都不鼓励了，不要说是50个人的距离命令了，50个人的限制了，没有了室外的都没有，因为昨天省长都宣布了一个这个很多的这个命令，其中就是省内的旅行命令也没有了。那么他也是说到了有些例外，比如说你们那个只有一个例外，就是基本的工作人员，他们可以去省内走来走去。那么还有呢，就是这个人员的聚集。那么比如说很多的洗礼，我们基督教的洗礼还有这个婚礼葬礼这个没有例外了这个2个礼拜没有例外了。那么同时呢，也请大家现在看来很多地方是要强制戴口罩了。他说了，强制戴口罩，尤其是在零售商店，尤其是这些雇员必须戴口罩那么还有呢，就是共享式的厨房都必须戴口罩。那么还有很多地方呢都是暂停了。
To work at home, and we're increasing our site inspections, and that we're saying that there are no more indoor group fitness classes, and that we're saying that there's specific rules that people involved in team sports, so that there be no spectators at indoor sports events, and that there be no travel outside of your local community for sports-related activities, and that the effort of the public healthcare system expands outward. All of those things are what we can do together to help stop the spread and help our fellow citizens live.
所以他说，所有的措施我们联合在一起，所有的目的主要是希望我们的公卫系统能够缓释压力，同时呢，希望大家能够配合学校能够正常的开，能够我们的工作场所能够正常的上班。
In every part of British Columbia,
我们每一个人，全省每一个人没有例外了，没有一个世外桃源了。我们每一个人都必须负担起自己的责任，来拉平曲线。
I wanted to note 2 things that we've added. 2 reports that I usually give on Thursday. I'm going to do them very briefly.
那么他又是给大家汇报这个择期开刀恢复手术这个我是觉得。
pursuant to the Premier's announcement at the end of August, 702 contact tracers have been hired in BC. That's an increase of 66 from last week, 434 more are in the interview stage, and 102 more in the offer stage. Also funding culturally sensitive contact tracing supports for 76 positions with the First Nations Health Authority. That's more than 1,000 people in the end, because we're going to add the number of people we intend to hire to do contact tracing. It's going to now be 950 plus the 76 in FNHA, more than 1,000 people in addition to those who were doing contact tracing prior to the Premier's announcement in August. And finally, I just want to say with respect to surgeries, that from the week of November 2nd to 8th, we set a record for this year in the number of surgeries completed in BC, both scheduled and non-scheduled surgery. That number was 7,280 this past week, the 9th to the 15th. The number is less because of Remembrance Day at 5,520, more than the equivalent period last year. And this reflects, I think, an extraordinary achievement by our entire healthcare system.
其中呢，过去的一天里边，沿岸卫生局新增了178例，非生卫生局下降了，新增了309例。岛上卫生局新增了12例，内陆卫生局新增了28例，北部卫生局新增了11例啊。那么这个里边呢，28这个。有一个社区爆发是指，他说 LNG 就是这个液化气体公司啊，这个 plant PLANT 它是指这个工厂啊，有几个工人聚集导致了。那么现在呢，他们也是觉得就是在工作场所都设定了，都到位了，但是为什么还会有啊？很多职工中午吃饭引起的啊，所以这个也是要大家他们管不了了。所以这个也是大家要注意的这个问题。
These orders give us direction today, and we must give them the
那么我
power
翻
they
了翻
require
记
to be
录，11
effective.
月
We
9
need
号，
to make these
也
orders
就是
work
10
to
天
stop the
前，
spread.
这
And being
个飞沙
100% all in will get each
是
of
新
us
增是
and all of us
737例。
there.
11月12
Aujourd'hui, nous
号，上个
annonçons
礼拜四，
538
飞
nouveaux
沙
cas
卫
qui
生
ont
局
testé
新
positifs
增了
pour COVID-19,
808例，
pour un total
所
de
以今天
24
309例是真的是感谢上帝，下降很多
Nous sommes
啊，
attristés
这个也
d'annoncer
是
un
实
nouveau
事求
décès
是。那么沿岸卫生局呢，一个礼拜前是249例新增，但是呢，今天呢是178例，下降了，但不显著，不如飞沙卫生局。
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. We're happy to take
那
your
么现在
questions.
是媒体提问时间。
Thank you, Minister. As a reminder to everybody on the phone, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question and one follow-up. I would also ask that you please take your phones off mute. You will not be audible until I call your name. First question today is from Rob Shaw, Vancouver Sun.
Oh, hi. I just would like to ask why the travel restrictions are not a provincial order, and what would have been different if you had gone that
这
route
位
in
记者
terms
问
of
的是
checking to
省
make
内
sure
旅行
people
的
aren't
问题
traveling inappropriately
包
or
括这个禁
having
令
some
限
mechanism
制
to sort
不
of
是为什
stop
么
and,
不
and
是
make sure
全
that
省
they
性的？
are
哎，
following
我
the
记得是
rules.
全省性的卫生禁令。
Yeah, you know, it's exactly that. I don't believe that we need to do that. We have a lot of essential travel that comes
他
back
说
and
我不
forth.
认为这个要做的，因为
We
我
get a
们
lot
省里
of
边有
our
很多
essential
的人
goods that
他们
come
是基础
here
工
on
作
the
的人，
island
他
by
们也
ferry
要走来走去，
back and
要从
forth
岛
through
上和我们
the
的
United States and
或
other
者是
parts
从
of
这儿到
Canada.
美国
So
去，或者是到加拿大
to
其他地
step
方
up
去。
that
所以我们现
infrastructure
在主
and
要
to
是
have
为
some
了
mechanism
包
to
括
do
还但是
that
还有这些基础工
is
作
very
就是基建
challenging.
工作。那么他
But
说我们
we
现在
also
只
know
是
that when we
加强
had
了一
these
些限
same
制。
requirements in place earlier this year, that people took them to heart. We're talking about recreational and social
我
travel,
们现在
and
主
it's
要是
very
对
challenging
那些
sometimes to
旅
be
行
able to
旅游以
understand. And
及
I know
健身
I
类
started
的
to get
旅行做限
concerns from
制。
people again that they're seeing Alberta license plates and U.S.
大
license
家可以
plates,
看到马
and
路
it
上很
really
多什么
is
阿省的
about
牌照啊，美国的牌照
remembering that we don't
这
always
个
know
大家
people's
都问过这些
stories,
问
and
题
there are many
每个
reasons
人的
why somebody
原因
may
不一
be
样，每个
coming.
人的故事
They
都不
may
一
have
样
been here for
那
a
么有
number
些
of
人
months
来
now.
了
We
之
know
后
that.
回不去了，
They
我
may
们知
have a
道
need
回
to
不去
check
了，
on a
很多
family
美国人
member.
回来了
So
回不去了。他
there's
说
many
这个是
different
很多的事
ways
情，每个
that
人有自
we
己的故
understand
事
essential travel,
所以
and we
我们
trust
只是
people
不
to
限
take the
制
right
那些
actions
最
now
基本
because we
工
are
作的
all
旅
being
行
affected，
那
by
么
this.
那些健身类的以及娱乐类的旅行已
Sure,
经
thanks.
限制了
Could I
不能
get
再
a
做
sense
了。
from you what kind of metrics you'll be using to determine if these restrictions are successful over the next 2 weeks? Is it daily case counts, or how much of a percentage decrease do you want to see in certain areas to be able to know that this is the circuit breaker method that you've been talking about?
Yeah, so we watch a lot of things. Certainly, daily case counts are part of it, and our rolling average, because the day-to-day variation can reflect a number of things. So we are watching that very carefully. We're watching our ability to find people quickly, and that has been challenged, particularly in the Lower Mainland health authorities, where we have had so many cases per day. It's been a challenge for us to find people, to find their contacts in a safe and quick way, in a timely way. So we're watching that. We're watching a very important metric that helps us understand if we're holding on in public health, which is the percentage of people where we cannot link them to a known case or cluster, and being able to follow up and stop clusters before they grow into larger outbreaks. And so we're at the brink with that, and that is the area that I'm most concerned about.
能够一条线连起来的，它不可怕。最可怕的是说，这一个案例、那个案例相互之间联系不起来，或者说根本不知道哪里来的，这个是最可怕的。他说，我们现在关注的就是这个能够联系不起来的这个百分比，这个才是他们公卫系统看的这个最重要的指标之一。这个也是我刚才就是没有给大家完全翻译啊，我在听他的这些话，因为有些重复来重复去，没有意思。
into where people are getting infected and where they're going.
那么，所以他说也是公卫接触跟踪接触的工作人员的工作，还有一个就是他们到哪里去过了他们哪里得到的他们还去过哪里，还会传给谁
？The number of people who have been infected from attending social gatherings. So it is making a difference in the Lower Mainland. We've started to see that decrease. Now we need to focus on some of the workplace settings where we're seeing increases in long-term care cases. So it is a balance. There's a whole bunch of things that we look at and agonize about every day, but those are the basic ones.
所有的措施卫生命令都要考虑到平衡。那么现在呢，很多低陆平原的命令呢，就扩出到非低陆平原了，因为这个措施是行之有效的。
The background briefing on this. Public health officials, especially in light of the new high counts there today, public health officials have sort of flagged such issues as dense housing and essential workers as key to the high counts in the Fraser Health region. But these are presumably relevant to other parts of BC. So, like, are there more essential workers in Fraser Health, more dense housing? What's making these high counts so distinct? What explains these high counts?
Yeah, so there's a variety of things. We know that the highest population base is in the Lower Mainland, particularly how we've broken it up by health region. The largest health region by population is Fraser Health. It's a younger population with larger numbers of families and children. The vast majority of our schools, by a large amount, the highest numbers of schools are in the Fraser Health region. We have lots of families that work in that live in multi-generational homes. There's cultural reasons why people come together, why it's so important to have community together in large numbers. And I know many of my colleagues and friends who are from South Asian community, for example, having 2 or 300 people as your immediate family is normal and is important and is part of how life is lived. And these are things, unfortunately, that this virus can exploit. It doesn't recognize who we are, but it recognizes that when we're in crowded situations indoors, that we can pass it on. And from the very beginning, we have said that this virus is transmitted most often to the people we are closest to. So we are seeing some of that effect. We also know that many of those high-risk what am I trying to say? High-risk businesses like essential businesses like our food processing plants, like fruit warehousing, all of those places are in the Fraser Valley. Poultry plants, we know that much of the trucking industry, people live there, and many of our essential workers, healthcare workers in Vancouver Coastal live in the Fraser Health region. So there's a whole variety of reasons why we are seeing increased numbers there. We knew that was likely to happen, but we had that rapid increase in the middle of October. That was a whole bunch of different issues coming together at once. It was social gatherings, it was the fact that this virus was being transmitted, that we were having things indoors. So I think right now we are seeing that reflected in a smaller scale around the province, and we all need to pay attention to the things that we can do to stop our social interactions, to put the brakes on this virus now.
所以现在我们必须要停止这些活动，来阻止病毒的传播。从他这么长一段话里边听出来了，就是南亚南亚不一定全部是印度包括了这个穆斯林我这个又是不是很正确了，那么还有就是这个巴基斯坦都是这个同一个文化，那么他说很多房子都是几代人住着。那么卫生厅长又来做一些政治正确的。
In the middle of the summer in Fraser Health, a disproportionate number of our cases within Fraser Health were in the Abbotsford area. Now it's in Surrey. But we have cases throughout the province. And just to put it in context, I think the number of cases today outside of the Metro Vancouver Health Authorities is 51. Well, 4 weeks ago, that averaged about 4 or 5. This pandemic is everywhere. We need to support each other everywhere. And that is right now particularly true in Fraser Health. These circumstances can change in communities, and it shows why the steps we have to take in Fraser Health today need to be taken everywhere, and why it's so important, I think, and Dr. Henry made the decision today to extend the orders that were for Vancouver Coastal Health and for Fraser Health to the whole province. I live in Vancouver Coastal Health, 4 blocks from Fraser Health. That's an administrative distinction, but what it tells us, I think, what all of this information tells us is what a difficult pandemic this is, how difficult it is to manage this, and how we're all in this together, every single one of us.
每一个人都要去管理自己，都要管理自己。
Are there any, given these numbers that are still consistently high, are there any specific or distinct strategies being considered to get things under control or the numbers down?
他说你们有没有一些行之有效的策略来？尤其是在菲沙卫生局把数字降下来。
I've sort of announced all of those strategies that we're talking about.
我刚才已经说了那么多了我们主要是关注在
supporting our contact tracers in the lower mainland, so both Vancouver and Fraser Health, to get on top of being able to find people in a timely way to make sure that we're catching, that we're understanding where the clusters are happening, getting on them quickly, and focusing on where we are seeing transmission happening.
主要是关注这个爆发在哪里，传播在哪里。
Rapid response team that one of my deputies will be supporting with the environmental health officers, focusing on where we are seeing transmission now in some business settings, focusing on what we've been doing all along, but enhancing our ability to protect our healthcare system, whether it's long-term care or acute care where we're seeing outbreaks happening. So there is absolutely an intense focus on that, but the measures that you're seeing today are the ones that we expect will work if we all do our part.
所以他说我们每个人只要是做好自己分内的事的话，肯定一定会有效果。
Just one statistical thing as well, Ian, we've transferred significant contact tracing capacity to Fraser Health, including 43 staff people from the Provincial Health Services Authority. We've been contact tracing to Fraser Health. Obviously, the largest share of the people we've hired are working in Fraser Health. Dr. Henry and I had a chance when we were in Surrey recently to see them do their work, and they're doing an extraordinary job. And I think we'll continue, obviously, as we have in the past, to focus resources where resources are needed. And so in terms of the significant amount of resources being transferred, obviously in terms of the resources of the healthcare system, from contact tracing to primary care to support for hospitals, support for long-term care, obviously right now Fraser Health is at the center of all that, although we have significant issues in all of the other health authorities.
Next question is from Richard Zussman, Global News.
Dr. Henry, I just want to ask about masks. So why the switch now after there's been a lot of questions to you towards that? Will people be given a badge or some sort of identifier to show
这位
that
记者呢，
they
始终
can't
就
wear
是
a
质疑
mask
他
or don't
的
have
这
to for
个
those
强制戴
physically
口罩的
unable
问
to, and
题。
why no
那么，
masks
所以
in
今
schools?
天他的问题还是很尖利的。
So,
为什么搞到现在
the
才
answer to
发
the
布
first
强制戴
question
口
is,
罩的问题？
as I have said many, many times,
他说我也
there
说了
is
很多很多的
a
次
mandate
数了。
in our occupational
其
health
实
and
我们
safety,
很多
and
地方是强制
that
戴
is
口
what
罩
is
的。他说
reflected
了啊。
in the orders that are coming from the Minister of Public Safety. So I stand by what we have always had in place, and I think
因为这
we
个
won't get
工作
into
场所都
semantics,
要戴
but
口罩了嘛，对
what
吧？
we have said is it is my expectation
他说
that we wear
我
masks as
个
an
人的
important
期
piece,
望是，
and no more important than now.
所以
in
他在
terms
解
of
释呢，我是觉得也是
one
早
of the
点
measures that we
强
have
制戴
to
口罩。
prevent infections.
不过话说回来，我是看到100%的人戴口罩。
Got distracted by you
问
had
题
three
不是在
questions.
强制
One of
戴
them
口
was,
罩
oh, no,
还是
we
主要是
take
家
people
庭
at
的
their
聚
word.
会谁戴
There's
口罩，
no
所以
way
这个
that
才
we
是
will
最关
force
键
people
的。
to have medical notes or other things. We need to trust that people who cannot wear masks.
那么他也是
and
说到了
there
他
are
说
some
补充了一下，
people
他说
who cannot
这
wear
个有
masks.
些
We
人
need
不能
to
戴口
be
罩，我
able
们
to
也相信
accommodate
他们
them,
有
and
些
that
人
will
不戴
mean
口
in
罩，
some
因为是
cases
他们
that
这
they
个
can
身体原因
have
不能戴口
remote
罩。
pickup, or that they go to receive services at times when there are other people not around. So there, and I think we have to focus on, this people in retail settings going into
那么主要还是零售
get a
店，他
driver's
说
license
还有
renewed.
还有就是这个
Those are not the
ICDC 的这些
situations
这
where we're
个
seeing transmission
那
of
个
infection. But it is important that workers feel that they are protected and that they have the appropriate measures in place to require both workplaces and people who are entering those public spaces and retail spaces to protect them and protect each other. Schools are not public open spaces.
他说
You
学
cannot
校
go walk
不
into
是
a school.
公众
We
开
have
放场
layers
所
of measures of
我
protection
们
in
有很
place
多
in
的
schools,
其他的
and like
措
I
施
wouldn't
一层一
wear a
层保
mask
护
sitting at my
所以
office.
为什么解释学校
We
没有
don't
强制
expect
戴口
children
罩
to wear masks sitting at their desks all day long. We do have expectations in schools
我
around
们现在我们对
those
学校也
common
有期
areas
望
where children and adults in the school setting are mingling, and those are part of the safety plans that are in place in all of the schools.
Do you have a follow-up, Richard?
I do, and I apologize for the multi-part questions. This is going to be another one. A lot of questions around what it means to have activities within your own community. So can you explain to people when these sports games can take place, where can people go to play? Is it your city? Is it your neighborhood, your health authority? The same with something like skiing. How far can someone ski to one of the North Shore ski hills? And another point of clarity that faith organizations have brought up is what if they're holding things like, in some cases, Gurdwaras are holding community, they prepare meals for a number of people in the community. Are they still allowed to gather in order to hold those events to provide meals or other things for community?
Yeah, so addressing the second one first, and we did talk about things like that, and no, it's not an event to prepare meals, and they need to have COVID safety plans in place, which they have in many of the settings where the meals are provided, and they need to be individually packaged. What we aren't having is people coming in and sitting together and having those meals. They have a process, and I have tremendous admiration for the Gurdwaras in particular who do this, where they provide those meals to families in need. So those absolutely can continue. I know many of our faith buildings are used for 12-step meetings, for example, or for daycare or for additional studies for children, and those can continue with the appropriate safety measures in place. Those are not events in the context of this order. In terms of how far can you go, well, this is not an order. This is telling people to use their common sense. And when we're talking about the sports teams, part of the sports networks and the sports organizations had interregional travel. So they have their own defined regions, and that needs to stop. You can play the games within your own region only, and there's no travel between different areas. That is where we're seeing the risk, and the risk is people carpooling together, having to stay overnight because some of the regions were, from South Island to North Island, or Powell River to the mainland. That has to stop right now. We can't have that type of travel, and we also need to pay attention to those pre-game, post-game, off the field of play situations where we're coming together, and that's where the no spectators comes in, because we have seen that people are getting together. It's hard. You go into the locker room, so having provisions in place, and I know some teams have done this really well, where people come pre-dressed, and so we're not in the locker room. We have to resist that temptation to go out with the guys after the hockey game. So those are the things that we need to put aside right now so that we can continue to focus on the opportunities, particularly for kids to get out there with their teammates, to do drills, to have games in their local community.
Next question is from Pooja Sakan, Red FM.
Hi, Dr. Henry. Thank you so much for taking my question. A portion of it you have already answered, but could you explain or rather elaborate on the new orders around religious places? Can people visit temples and gurdwaras with their families, or are you banning visits to religious places completely?
No, I'm not banning visits to religious places at all. There needs to be processes in place so that people can go, they can keep their distance, they wear masks when they're in common areas, all of the things that you have been doing so far. What we're saying is those services that were explicitly under the event order, where people came together at specific times, and it was up to 50 people in the space, depending on how large the space was, that we need those to be suspended for this short period of time, because we have seen that despite our best efforts, we have transmission happening in those events.
Do you have a follow-up, Pooja?
Pooja,
Yeah, in
大
terms
家
of
听说了吗
essential
？Pooja 就是
traveling,
印度
if someone has
印度
booked a
的名字
vacation
典型
to
的
maybe go to
Pooja
Whistler next week, are you asking them to cancel it?
I'm asking them to consider whether they need to go, whether this is the time that they can go.
那么这位
if they
女
can
记者问的
postpone.
还是就是这个旅行的问
Next
题
question
啊。
is from
那么
Binder
刚才呢，
Sargent,
博迪医生
CTV
说过了，你们要滑雪，你们就到自己最近的这个山上去滑雪啊，就是这个意
Binder, are
思。
you
看
there?
那么当然了，肯定对旅游业是一个很大的
Go ahead.
打击。
Go ahead.
这个也是没有办法，安全是第一的。
Dr. Henry, I'm just wondering, when it comes to the mask mandate, when does that come into effect? How is that going to be enforced? Will there be fines? What can an employee do if somebody comes in and refuses to wear a mask?
Yeah, so those details are being worked out by the Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor
他说
General
这
under
个
the
卫生
Emergency
厅的
Programs
具体
Act.
的这
It
个
does give
措施会给
owners and
大家
operators of retail spaces, public spaces, the
包括
ability
营业
to
场所啊，很多的
call
室内的
on
场所
police. It also means
戴口
that
罩
there
的
can
问
be
题，那
fines
么
and
如
there's
何
ways
加强
that they
执
can
法？
deal with employee safety
主要是
under
确
the
保这
Public
个
Safety
员工
Act.
的
So
安
the
全，
details will
也
become
确
clear
保
over
各
the
顾
next
客的
week.
安全。这
Binder,
个
do you
都
have a
是
follow-up?
因为这个命令一牵涉到强制的话呢，就会牵涉到这个是公共安全问题。公共安全问题就是警察来管了。这个是他的意思。
Maybe they need to pull their kids out of school. So just wondering when that decision will be made, and where would case numbers need to be essentially to keep schools open?
Yeah, so as we have seen all along, schools are a safe place.
他说，从目前来看，学校相对来讲还是安全的。我们没有看到学校有很多的暴露情况，没有看到学校传染的情况。我们现在还没有到这个考虑关闭学校的情况。我们现在尽量的保护，做我们的工作，来保证我们的基本的工作人员的工作，保证我们学校的安全，让他们去
admire our teachers and educators and the work that they've been doing to make sure that children have that learning experience that is so critical for them at this point in their lives. And we need to celebrate and support the work they're doing. And part of these orders is to make sure that we can continue to do that. In terms of over the holidays, those discussions are ongoing. It is not only about the schools, it's about our community. It's about a number of different issues, and there are many people that need to be involved in those discussions. And when we have come up with our decision about that, we'll let you know.
Colton Davies, Radio NL.
Hi, Dr. Henry. For out-of-province residents working in BC on major projects like the Trans Mountain Pipeline, for example, who might go home to Alberta or from Kamloops to the Lower Mainland, for example, to see families on their days off, I'm assuming, would that be deemed essential travel, yes or no? And how much of a concern has this been for you and health officials about the potential spread from those situations, especially when you consider the cases reported at LNG Canada today?
Yeah, so yes, it is essential travel. Work travel is essential travel. This has been, industrial camps have been a huge concern of ours from the very beginning. You will recall that we actually have an order around COVID safety plan in industrial plants. And other settings like the silviculture in the summer, where we had thousands of people coming to plant trees over the summer period. And those safety plans have been really good. They have worked. We've had very few cases. Those cases have been isolated. For people, it's been a challenge, I know, for people working in those environments, because they cannot have those social interactions that they would normally have had in those work environments. And they have barriers in place when people come in. There's testing in place as needed. There's isolation and monitoring of contacts. And this is, we've had less than half a dozen individual cases of people being coming into having exposure events of people coming in and testing positive for COVID. So this is our first outbreak. It was caught and it's being managed. We know there's about 30 or 40 people who are in isolation and being monitored. We don't believe that there's been exposures in the community, and I know Northern Health is working really carefully with them on managing this outbreak. It is a reflection of the risk that we run across the province, across the country, when rates are high all over the place. So far the safety plans have been really have been something that we have been focused on and are important and have been working and celebrating the things that we planted 3 million trees this summer, trees that would have been lost if we had not had those plans in place and being able to get people up into some of the more remote areas to do the planting.
Colton, do you have a follow-up?
这个是室外，这个是所以室外，他说这个室外很容易不容易传播，就是这个道理。
Obviously, this is an extension for the restrictions already in place for the Lower Mainland, but it's new for places like Interior Health. Just curious, is this immediate from when you spoke about this about an hour ago, or would it be 10 p.m. tonight?
We're saying midnight tonight, and then we'll catch it up, and all of these will apply until at least December 7th. And we will be monitoring, and we'll be talking, of course, over that period of time and watching how things are going and adjusting if we need to.
We have time for one more question today. For everyone listening, Dr. Henry and Minister Dix will release a statement this afternoon with the latest information on cases, hospitalizations, and outbreaks, which you can find at news.gov.bc.ca. For updated information about regional orders, visit gov.bc.ca/regional restrictions. And for information about the province's pandemic supports, visit gov.bc.ca/COVID-19. Last question is from Naomi Mukanda, CBC Radio Canada.
Oh, thank you. I was just about to sign up. Well, my question has been asked. I would like to ask Minister Dix if he can talk a little more about, maybe before Dr. Henry, when you see what's going on in Quebec with schools, if it's something that you're thinking about here, and then if Minister Dix can say it in French,
让他卫生厅长又说法语啊，我估计这个是魁省是英语说过来
，Christmas holidays are going to be extended for kids.
那么能不能OK，
so
孩子们的圣诞节 break 能不能延长
？Quebec was making an
那么他说
announcement at
魁
5
省
o'clock
可能
their
刚刚
time,
宣布魁
but I
省
have not heard what the
我还
announcement
没
was,
听
so
说，
I
但是
can't
我知道5点钟
actually
他们宣
respond to
布
your
要
question,
就是这
other
个
than we are
延
looking
长孩
at
子们
whether
的
we
圣
will
诞节
extend
圣诞节
the
假期
holiday break or not, and there's pros and cons as we talked about
那
the
么
other
这里
day
边
here,
有很多的优点和缺点
on doing that,
我们
and there's implications on a variety of different parts of our communities, so that decision has not yet been made here.
我们这边还没决定啊，因为这个里边有很多的优点和缺点，我这个是还没决定，就是因为这个如果延长的话，那么很多的社区的问题又出来了啊。那么现在卫生厅长是用法语说了，好，我给大家趁机再补充一下。那么过去的24小时里边，全省新增了538例，累计现在是24960例，其中延安卫生局是178例新增，飞沙卫生局新增309例，岛上卫生局新增12例，内陆卫生局新增28例，北部卫生局是新增11例。目前为止是6929个在 active case 记录在案的还在活跃的案子，其中呢217个住院，这个一下子跳了很多了礼拜一我给大家汇报的时候是181个住院，那么现在是217个住院，其中呢重症监护没有明显增加，礼拜一给大家汇报57，今天是59个重症监护。那么过去24小时里边新增1例死亡，一下子从10个降低到1个，也感谢主。那么现在累计呢是321例死亡。那么在全省范围内，现在在公卫系统的监视下，自我隔离的人数也是下降了1000个。礼拜一给大家汇报是10928个。
Before we get to Naomi's follow-up, I'd just like to remind everybody that you can find the new orders, the updated orders from today at gov.bc.ca/COVID-19. And Naomi, do you have a follow-up?
没有了，没有这个没有因为这个魁北克
That's all the time we have.
好
Thank you.
那么今天的新闻简报呢就报到这儿。正好呢我也再给大家啰嗦一句话，就是这个好，我把关一关啊。就是因为说到这个还有一个指标我们也要看到，就是11月的9号不是11月5号，全省是12806例在监视下自我隔离，然后一个礼拜以后11月12号呢是11091个在重症这个公卫系统的监护下在自我隔离。那今天呢这个礼拜一就是11月16号呢是10928例，那现在呢是9929例在这个这个公卫系统的工作人员的 monitoring 下自我隔离。好了，各位观众，那么今天的新冠疫情的新闻简报 BC 省的就给大家直播到这儿。我们很希望下星期一再给大家做简报的时候看到这个数字又明显下降，希望我们大家共同度过难关，也祝各位网友我们英文它叫 stay healthy 希望大家能够安全健康，也祝大家周末愉快，我们下周一再见。